After spending 16 years on death row, Kevin Ray Underwood was put to death by lethal injection. But long before his execution, his life was consumed by fantasies so horrific they went far beyond killing. His mind drifted into darkness, abduction, torture, cannibalism. And tragically, in his eyes, 10-year-old JAIME Rose Bolin seemed like the perfect target. Before we go further, I need to warn you. This case is one of the most disturbing I've ever covered. If you're new here and want more true crime stories told in full detail, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. It was the spring of 2006 in Purcell, Oklahoma, a quiet town of about 5,000 people where life moved at a slow pace and neighbors recognized each other by name. JAIME Rose Bolin was just 10 years old, sweet, cheerful, with a big heart. She loved animals, SpongeBob SquarePants, and hanging out with her friends. Her parents had divorced a few years earlier, but she was adjusting well, splitting her time between both households. That season, she was staying with her father, Curtis, a hard-working auto mechanic who cherished her deeply. Curtis was careful about her safety. He always wanted to know where she was, who she was with, and that she came home on time. But in a town like Purcell, real danger felt like something that only happened far away. The truth was, danger was closer than anyone realized. Living in the same apartment complex was Kevin Ray Underwood, then 26 years old. He was unemployed, overweight, and lived by himself. To those who saw him around, he came across as quiet, shy, socially awkward, maybe odd, but seemingly harmless. He didn't cause trouble, kept mostly to himself, and spent endless hours online. But behind his apartment door, Kevin's thoughts were spiraling into something terrifying. As early as 2004, he was fantasizing about killing. He wasn't just imagining it, he was recording it. On his computer, he kept chilling journals, describing in graphic detail his dreams of abducting someone, torturing them, stabbing needles into their eyes, and chopping the body into pieces like a butcher in a meat shop. He wrote about cooking human remains, tasting the flesh, and figuring out how to dispose of bones and organs. At one point, Kevin even experimented with a Barbie doll, sticking its head with needles and taking photos as a way of practicing his fantasies. For a time, it all stayed hidden on his computer screen. But eventually, those dark thoughts weren't enough. Kevin wanted to make them real. In both his private writings and later confessions, Kevin made something horrifyingly clear. He wanted as much of the suffering to happen while his victim was still alive. And he began searching for the right victim. Kevin understood how to appear harmless. He greeted neighbors with a polite smile, waved to children in passing, and carried himself as a harmless, awkward man. He even kept a pet rat, which he used as bait to lure kids into conversation. For JAIME, who adored animals, the rat was fascinating. Sometimes she would stop by Kevin's apartment to pet it, laughing at its movements while cartoons played in the background. Kevin made her feel welcome, never revealing the nightmare he was secretly plotting. For months, he built her trust, waiting for the day he would betray it. Wednesday, April 12, 2006. JAIME went to school like normal. She had plans to stop by the library afterward, but headed home first to change clothes. Kevin later admitted he had been planning to grab her before she even got inside her house, so it would look like she disappeared on her way home from school. But he missed his opportunity. Still, when JAIME passed by his door, she asked if she could see the rat again. Kevin smiled and let her in. As JAIME crouched down to pet the animal, Kevin crept up behind her with a heavy wooden cutting board. He struck her, but she didn't lose consciousness. Instead, JAIME screamed in panic. Kevin hit her again. Terrified and crying, she begged for her life, sobbing, I'm sorry, without even knowing what she was apologizing for. She tried to run, but Kevin overpowered her, pinning her down. He covered her mouth and nose with his hand and pressed hard, holding her down until the life slowly left her small body. Later, Kevin admitted it took nearly 20 agonizing minutes before she stopped moving. When it was over, Kevin stepped outside and carried Jamie's bicycle in from where she had left it. But then another problem hit him. The bike, he realized, would be harder to hide than her body. So, he disassembled it piece by piece and shoved the parts beneath his bed. Kevin's plan began to unravel almost immediately. He had spent months building a dark fantasy in his mind, but the reality was slipping away faster than he imagined. Jaime died too quickly. He hadn't been able to carry out everything he thought he would. Still, he tried to force the rest of his fantasy on her lifeless body. He attempted to violate her, but couldn't. Frustrated and furious, he dragged her into the bathroom. There, he tried to cut off her head with a kitchen knife, saying later that he wanted to place it on his desk so it could watch him. Kevin confessed he had even intended to keep her body nearby for a day or two, sleeping beside it, before eventually eating part of her flesh. But things didn't happen the way he had pictured. Nothing worked. Reality fell far short of the nightmare in his imagination. Exhausted and defeated, he gave up. He wrapped Jamie's body in plastic, shoved her into a large storage tub, sealed it tight with duct tape, and pushed it into his bedroom closet. Meanwhile, Jamie's father, Curtis Bolin, returned home to find his daughter missing. Panic set in instantly. He called the police right away. Within hours, a search effort had spread through the neighborhood. Police, firefighters, and even neighbors scoured fields, ditches, and parking lots, calling her name. When nothing turned up the next day, the FBI stepped in. Dozens of agents joined the search. Then came the first break. A neighbor said they'd seen Jaime walking with a young man from her apartment complex, but no one seemed to know who he was. 2 days later, police set up roadblocks near the complex, questioning drivers. At one checkpoint, FBI agent Craig Overby stopped a pickup truck. Driving was Kevin's father drove. Sitting silently in the passenger seat was Kevin himself. During a casual conversation, Kevin's father mentioned they lived right next door to Jaime. That instantly caught Overby's attention. He asked Kevin if he'd sit in a patrol car for a quick chat. Kevin agreed. But once the door shut, his story raised red flags. He admitted he'd seen Jaime the day she vanished, claiming he watched her ride her bicycle away. That made him the last known person to see her alive. Agents invited him down to the station for a formal interview, and again he agreed. But his story didn't add up. Others had described Jaime's school outfit from that day. Kevin gave a completely different description, oddly detailed for someone who claimed he only caught a quick glimpse of her. Afterward, investigators offered him a ride home. Once there, they asked to search his apartment. Kevin hesitated but agreed, hoping his compliance would keep suspicion low. By late afternoon, officers were inside his small, cluttered apartment. In the closet was a large plastic tub, sealed with duct tape. Kevin casually said it was full of comic books, taped shut to protect them from moisture. But when Agent Overby peeled back the tape and opened it, he froze. Right on top was a child's shirt, the same one Kevin had described in his statement. There were no comic books. Overby looked at Kevin, who simply said, "Go ahead and arrest me." "Where is she?" Overby demanded. "She's in there," Kevin replied calmly. "I hit her and chopped her up." The room fell silent. Kevin began to shake, whispering, "I'm going to burn in hell." At the medical examiner's office, every bruise, every wound told the story of Jaime's final moments. The back of her head showed blunt force trauma. Her eyes carried signs of suffocation. Faint marks on her cheeks suggested a hand clamped tightly over her mouth. A deep cut across her neck confirmed Kevin's chilling confession. But one question lingered. Had she still been alive when he inflicted the final wounds? The examiner could not say for certain. Officially, her cause of death was ruled as asphyxiation. When Kevin finally confessed in detail, he admitted he'd been consumed with violent fantasies for months. He had even considered cannibalism, but backed out, saying the idea disgusted him in reality. When asked why he targeted Jaime, his answer was chilling. She was close, and she was vulnerable. By 2008, Kevin was on trial. There was no real debate over guilt. His own defense attorney told the jury this case wasn't about innocence, it was about punishment, life in prison or death. The prosecution laid everything out: Kevin's FBI interview, his own words, the physical evidence. Jurors saw how carefully he had planned it, even buying barbecue skewers to torture her. They learned about the Barbie doll head pierced with needles, a symbol of his fantasies. It took the jury just 23 minutes to convict him of first-degree murder. At sentencing, every juror agreed. What Kevin did was so cruel, so disturbing, it fit Oklahoma's definition of especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Their decision was unanimous. Years later, Kevin appeared before the parole board for a final shot at clemency. Instead of remorse, he spoke of a twisted afterlife where fantasies could come true, where even torture would be allowed. His words shocked the room. The Attorney General's office urged the board to deny mercy, while Jaime's family pleaded for closure. Jaime's sister wrote, "You showed me at 14 that monsters are real. They wear our same clothes. They walk our same streets. You don't deserve mercy. Our family deserves peace." The board voted unanimously, clemency denied. On December 19, 2024, Kevin's 45th birthday, just 6 days before Christmas, he was executed by lethal injection. His last meal was chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, a cheeseburger, fries, beans, a roll, and soda. Before the drugs flowed, he broke down. "The choice to do this on my birthday, so close to Christmas, was cruel to my family," he said. "I'm sorry for what I did. I wish I could take it back." At 10:14 a.m., Kevin Ray Underwood was pronounced dead. He was 45 years old. JAIME Rose Bolin was just 10. Has justice truly been served, or was execution simply the state's way of closing the door on an unimaginable horror?